Good morning, everyone. And we're 1 week away from opening day. Yeah. And let's get ready. Lenny, great job this morning. And I love your picks for the superlative awards at the end of the season because I've been in this league it's a 10-team league, so that makes it pretty cool, right? And I've been in this league for a number of years, and of all the fantasy leagues I'm in, this one matters the most, just because I guess it's the first one I was in, and it's highly competitive every year. And when I heard Lenny picking Nick Castellanos as National League MVP, I have him on that team. And when I heard him pick Eloy Jimenez as American League MVP, I have him on that team. And when I heard him pick Jonas Cespedes as Comeback Player of the Year, I have him on that team. So Lenny, and I also have Lucas Giolito, who he picked as AL Cy Young. Lenny, either you're jinxing me or you are a great prophet. I'm going to find out one way or the other with this team that I've got this year. So we'll see. Good morning, everybody. And welcome once again to Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports. Lenny with a great start off to our Thursday. And he cheered me on. So let's have a round of applause for Lenny and the show he gave us this morning as he broke down a lot of things. And also, Lenny, I have Lourdes Gurriel on that same team. Let's move on. Let's look at a few news items. How many of you guys are really hoping that Gregory Polanco returns to the stardom prediction form of a couple of years ago? Well, I'm one of them. I'd love to see players do well, but per manager Derek Shelton, Polanco has been absent for team workouts the last 2 days without any reason why. Absent from scrimmage on Wednesday, Guillermo Heredia played right field. If he tested positive for COVID-19 this late or came in contact with someone who has, then he may not be ready for the start of opening day for the Pirates, which is a week from tomorrow. And it would be bad news because we know if he's fully healthy, this 28-year-old could be in line for a breakout year. And his ADP sits around 305. That's right, 305. So Polanco, to me, is one of those sleeper players that if he plays the whole season, he's going to hit you some home runs, he's going to steal you some bases, and there's the rub. Will he play an entire season? We shall find out. But I've got my eyes on Gregory Polanco. And I'm not going to talk much American League today because, as you remember, because I know you remember on Tuesday, we went through the American League, and I said today was National League. We started out with Polanco, but I do have a couple of AL East notes for you, fantasy relevant. First of all, did you watch the Yankee scrimmage yesterday, boys and girls? Because if you did in the first inning, you saw Aaron Judge hit a bomb to center field. Home run. And if you watched it, boys and girls, you watched in the same inning, Giancarlo Stanton hit a laser out home run to left field. Both off Big Maple, James Paxton. Yeah, and so I'm encouraged by that, but I also started to think, finally, the batters are catching up with the pitchers. And isn't it a good time to do that? Because we're only 1 week away. So, Boston Red Sox infielder Jose Peraza in line to be the starting second baseman for the Boston Red Sox. That's right, and to also receive additional starts at shortstop and at third base when Xander Bogaerts and Rafael Devers need a day off. Ron Renicky said, and I'm quoting, get ready, quoting here, "I didn't realize he was this good defensively. We're pleased with everything he's doing." And that's, end of quote, and that's good news for us fantasy players. Okay, so that means Michael Chavis may not see as much time as second base. He will mix in at first base, the weak side of the platoon with Mitch Moreland. Peraza, 26 years old. Remember 2018 and Jose Peraza when he became a fantasy sweetheart, hitting .288 with 14 homers and 23 stolen bases. But then he became fantasy junkyard last year, struggling to only a .239 average, 6 homers, and 7 steals. Now, starting at second base, what do I always say? In fantasy, I want players who have opportunity. Peraza's going to get the opportunity. If you don't have him on your fantasy team and you're looking for someone who may score some runs and steal some bases, Peraza could be cheap fodder, I'm telling you. So let's keep our eye on that. Verlander's going to start opening day. Quintana for the Cubs got a good checkup on that finger. Jacoby Jones is dealing with oblique tightness. Byron Buxton says he'll be ready opening day. I don't know. We'll find out. And out in Texas, another Yankee note, DJ LeMahieu set to rejoin the Yankees this week. Isaiah Kiner-Falefa has the edge to be the starting corner infielder for the Rangers, which means, I told you on Tuesday, that Greg Bird and Ronald Guzman were like a combined 1 for 40. Yeah. And so the Rangers were looking and are looking at Nick Solak playing some first base. But now if Kiner-Falefa is the third baseman, that means Todd Frazier shifts from third to first. And Chris Woodward, Texas Rangers manager, said, I'm quoting here, reading from the article, Falefa has been our best guy in summer camp. Now, that's bad news for Greg Bird. That's horrible news for Ronald Guzman, who figured to platoon at first base. Kiner-Falefa is 25 years old. He hit .253 with 5 homers, 66 runs scored, 10 stolen bases, and a little over 600 career plate appearances. Are you going to buy in and drink the water? He'll be more attractive at AL only, and he has eligibility at catcher. So I'm kind of digging it. I mean, if Kiner-Falefa can hit and play third and qualify at catcher, you don't have that qualification and combination very often. And I think this year in fantasy, combination players, and what I mean by that, multiple positional players, if they are a combo player, I think this year they are to be scooped up, kept, and nourished. Yes, I do. So keep your eyes on Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. And good morning to everyone in the chat room. Good morning to everyone listening on podcast across this great nation of ours. It's great to be with you on the Lenny Melnick Fantasy Sports Network. You're listening to Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports. Let's move right along to some National League notes. And I'm going to start with a team I don't think I've started with all year. How about the Colorado Rockies? And I'm going to be talking a little bit about players that we don't know that much about in terms of where are they in fantasy. We remember last September, though, Garrett Hampson. Remember the speedy power guy, and he finally started hitting in September, and we're kind of hoping the same continues. Well, how about Chris Owings? Remember Chris Owings, the former Diamondback stud, who struggled in 2018 and last year, but he showed up in Rockies camp, and he's going to be 29 on August 12th. Owings had 76 doubles and 17 triples from 2015 to 2017. And Rockies hitting coach Dave Magadan, former New York Met great, has been working him, and he's been just plain improving. So, on the 30-man roster, the Rockies can comfortably carry both Hampson and Owings. And Bud Black said about Hampson and Owings both, quote, you have two weapons, two good weapons. You have the speed weapon, you've got a sneaky power weapon, you've got two guys that play the game right. How many of you guys have Chris Owings on your fantasy team? And I'm just saying, You never know with the Rockies, do you? I mean, I'm thinking Sam Hilliard could have a breakout year, but lo and behold, they could give that time to Chris Owings, who could come back from a blast from the past, right? You never know with the Colorado Rockies. And so keep your eye on Chris Owings. Some pitching out in Colorado. They had an inter-squad game. It was the purple squad and the pinstripes. That's what they do in Colorado. It was the best of both worlds for right-hander Chichi Gonzalez and Jeff Hoffman, who were both competing for the number 5 starter spot, or at least a share of it. Each threw 3 scoreless innings. Gonzalez threw 39 pitches, struck out 2. Hoffman threw 44 pitches, struck out 3. So you've got good competition for a 5th slot. Now, do I think they're fantasy relevant? Come on, they're pitchers in Colorado. But it's nice to know you got these names in the event that there's a spot start and you don't know anything about them, right? Rockies' number 1 prospect, Brandon Rogers, singled twice. That's going to be an interesting dilemma for the Rockies. What to do with Rogers? I don't know. I mean, does he play second base? Does he play at all? I'm not sure what they will do with that player. I'm not sure what they're going to do with Hilliard. I'm not sure what the Rockies are going to do, period. I hope we get some indication from Buddy Black prior to opening day. Which would be great, wouldn't it? We shall see. What about in Arizona, where Christian Walker says and believes he's confident he'll be ready for the Diamondbacks' July 24 opener against the Padres, despite suffering a strained right groin during Sunday's intra-squad game. This injury occurred when he was fully extended trying to catch a Carson Kelly line drive. He said he felt some hip tightness initially, and then over the next few innings it got worse. So he took himself out of the game. He had an MRI on Monday, showed a grade 1 strain. That's the least severe. So what does that mean if he's not ready? Well, it means Kevin Cron probably steps in at either first or DH with more regular at-bats. And how many of you guys remember last year, Phil Chaplin and I talking about Kevin Cron? He is massive. And what this kid needs is opportunity. Now, what they're saying this year in Arizona is that Kevin Cron, brother of CJ, will get some at-bats in the DH spot against left-handed pitching. Well, we know that's the weak side of a platoon. Jake Lamb, the strong side of the platoon, and frankly, I'm not impressed with Jake Lamb any more than I am Christian Walker. I think Arizona has a good squad. I'd love to see Kevin Cron get more at-bats. He absolutely owned and devoured AAA pitching last year. Keep your eye on Kevin Cron. And Arizona outfielder Cole Calhoun said his left arm is fine. He was hit by a pitch earlier in the week. And so we'll keep our eye on that situation out in Arizona, shall we? Let's look at the Dodgers. And I heard this morning Lenny talking about Walker Buehler. And let's look a little deeper into that. Knowing Buehler is behind schedule, and the Dodgers plan to open the season with a 5-man rotation: Kershaw, Stripling, Alex Wood, Julio Urias, and Walker Buehler. Lenny has talked about Buehler being a bust. Well, if Buehler is not throwing innings, then who's going to get their innings? And I like to think that Mr. May, who's pitching in July, may get a lot of those innings that may have otherwise been Walker Buehler's. And if May is getting linked in the early games and establishes himself